So today we're reviewing.
Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
So 3 years ago, right around this date, maybe 6 days later, we saw Venom 2018. And now we were here reviewing Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. It's pretty crazy. But what are your initial thoughts of Venom, Let There Be Carnage?
I walked out of the theater enjoying certain aspects of the film. I think there was a lot that maybe just didn't really work for me 100%. And obviously it's a sequel to the first Venom from 2018. And my immediate thought, just leaving the theater as of right now, is I enjoyed the first one more, but there's still some good things in this movie that I'll get into my positives. So I think it was an okay movie.
Yeah, that's probably my thoughts. Pretty similar. Is that it was okay. It was a good movie. I'd say I'd like the first one better. There's just certain things. The first one was a little more grounded, and I'll try not to compare it anymore to the first one. But this movie, there were some cool things about it, but it just, to be completely honest, it just didn't blow me away. And I was entertained at parts, but it didn't blow me away, and it was an okay movie. But why don't we go into our positives about Venom, Let There Be Carnage?
Positives, I think, are the two main leads, Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson, did a great job in their roles. The special effects were pretty good once again. No complaints there. I mean, very similar to the first one. That all worked for me. And I think that the relationship between Venom and Eddie really just comes true once again. Like, you really care for those two characters a lot. And I think that's a major positive for the film when you're invested in the main character. And I think there were some good musical moments too, as far as like some boss music, some
soundtrack,
some good stuff there. And the final act had some pretty cool fight sequences in it. But yeah, that's probably what there was a major moment at the very end. Stick around for an end credit scene.
Yeah.
That was definitely a positive for me.
The main positives would include the relationship between Eddie and Venom. It is really good. You care about those characters, like you said, and they're really entertaining. And there is something about the voice of Venom in this. For some reason, I think it's Tom Hardy as well. But it sounded like Bane for some reason in this one. Versus the first one, it really sounded like Bane.
I'm not sure who voices Venom.
It's got to be Tom Hardy still. Because that sounded like Bane, and I know Tom Hardy's Bane, but I don't know, that's not confirmed. But their relationship's really good. The fight sequences were all right. They were, I think the first one they might have been a little better. They still have some awesome shots. There's some boss walks, and the overall Carnage is a positive because Carnage and Woody Harrelson. Carnage overall, just the CGI Carnage is really cool, and had some really awesome scenes showing the abilities. And I'd say that's about the biggest positives.
I think just adding on to that really quick, the villain was a great villain as far as Carnage goes. Like, you really,
Harrelson and them.
Like, obviously, I'm not saying you're on his side, but you definitely they started out perfectly as far as they give a backstory of Carnage a little bit, and they do not overdo that. Like, they show you what you need to know, and then it builds up for a perfect like villain storyline. So that definitely worked well, I thought.
And so why don't we go into our negatives of the film?
The negatives for me go probably just, I think, the pacing once again. The first 2/3 of the movie, the first act and the second act, really. I mean, okay, the very beginning, I did like how they showed the backstory like pretty quickly. It didn't drag on, but the first 2/3, just getting to that final act, seemed to really drag for me at some points, and it was just very choppy at times. That's not to say there wasn't any funny moments and certain moments throughout that first 2/3, but it just felt like it was just I kind of agree with some of the things I've heard. In some ways, it just seemed like they didn't really know what to do to get to the big fight between Venom and Carnage, and it took a while to get there. And there were just some moments that I thought did not need to be in it. Some of the side characters were more involved than I think they should have been in certain scenes, and I think at times there's just a lot going on the screen too. Like the final act, what I said was pretty cool. There was a lot going on at times. There's a moment in that final act where I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, my biggest negatives would probably be along the same lines as that. There are some side characters that detract from the story. There's a side character in particular that is important to the movie, but at the same time, the overall storyline of this character doesn't make any sense. I guess I won't even say who it is, even though it's really not a spoiler.
Yeah.
One of the main characters just it really it didn't make any sense. And we were questioning it afterwards. And the overall movie, I just feel like the first Venom had a clear beginning, middle, and end, more so, of what's happening and what was going on. But this one seems like it kind of just cuts around, and it kind of just like goes from scene to scene, and it doesn't really flow as well as I thought. And it doesn't really, you kind of get to the end scene, the third act, and you're like, oh, we're here. And it's kind of just abrupt. I don't know. This movie kind of, I don't know. It just doesn't, some movies, a lot of movies flow really well where it sets up another act, and then you get in and you're like, here we go, this is it. But this movie kind of just felt like we're here, and some things weren't explained and still aren't explained after the movie. That's a big negative, is that a big aspect of this movie, a huge aspect, is not even explained at all.
I would say just really quickly, the one addition you saw in the trailer, I'm not even sure what her name is. I'm assuming she's some kind of anti-hero or some kind of villain.
Atomic Screech or whatever.
Atomic Screech, but like,
it's not Atomic Screech.
When it happened, though, I feel like, didn't we just have a movie in Birds of Prey where there was someone who had the same power as that?
That's
like,
true.
Was it Black Canary? Isn't that her power?
Yeah.
So is that like Marvel's version of Black Canary? That was a character that, I mean, it made sense as far as how she connected to someone else in the movie, but then at the very end, they did some really weird things with her that had you questioning, wait, why did she just say this? Why did that just happen? But then I do want to give credit to the film for finishing through some storylines there at the end that most films nowadays don't do.
Her name is Shriek.
Shriek?
Yeah, that's...
So it sounds like a Black Canary ripoff to me. Once again, I'm not sure who was created first. I mean, each side has their own same kind of versions of each other, but still.
Why don't we get into our final thoughts and stuff?
So final thoughts, like I said, it was an okay movie. I walked out enjoying certain things about it. Definitely some things that didn't work as well for me. And once again, I liked the first one more after seeing this one. Just one time. And I think I gave the last one a 7.9 out of 10. This one, just, once again, going off of my enjoyment of the film, and like I've said a million times, a 5 out of 10 is average for me. This is above average, but it's definitely not a film that I would go back to see again in theaters. And I think I thought of this from the second the movie ended. Now, the end credits scene had me leaving on a high note, so maybe I can't let that increase the score I already had, because it's the end credits scene. So I'd have to say I'm going to stick with what my gut was telling me. I'm going to give Venom, Let There Be Carnage a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, so this movie I was really excited for it. Very high anticipation. Yeah. Carnage looked awesome for the trailers, and that continued through. Carnage was great. Woody Harrelson's great as the character for Carnage. So that was awesome. And the intro for Carnage in this movie is really cool. And there's cool moments, but it just seems like this movie doesn't really have a common... It just seems like it's all over the place throughout the movie, and I just don't think there's as good of a build-up as there could have been for other movies when it gets to the build-up and you're like, here we go. That just didn't happen in my opinion. But I still thought it was an okay movie, and I'd probably, if I gave the first one 8.5, I'll probably give this a 7 out of 10. The same score as I gave Malignant yesterday, because honestly, they're different movies and it's hard to compare them, but I probably... Yeah, I'd say a 7 out of 10 is pretty accurate because I have a lot of flaws and I like the first one better, but there was some stuff to like.
Anyways, though, that was our non-spoiler review of Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Definitely stick around for the spoilers discussion. We might do a live stream for it or something. Maybe we could do a live stream.
Feature.
Maybe we could do a live stream walking around Halloween Haunt tomorrow night, possibly talking about it if we want to do that instead of a review, or we even do both, do a live stream for that, then record a review somewhere. We could maybe do both. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, let us know in the comments what you think about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. And we will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.